Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. So, we are coming into Season 31 and starting off by evaluating the top deck of the format, which is going to, of course, be Fire King Snake-Eye. And as I've mentioned in my tier list video and quite a few other videos recently, while I do think that Fire King Snake-Eye is still definitely just the best deck of the format, I also think that it is not nearly as good as pure Snake-Eye was in, previous months. Especially with like Ash and Wanted and everything still being at 3. I think that this deck is a noticeably lower power level. That's why sometimes I find it a little disingenuous when people say like, oh, we're still in a Snake-Eye meta. It's like, yeah, but it's not the same. Like, it's not the same meta. It's not the same deck. It's not the same power level. It's still Snake-Eye stuff, and it's a similar end board, for sure. But I definitely think that to pretend that current Fire King Snake-Eye with one Ash and one Wanted is like as oppressive as pure Snake-Eye with 3 Ash and Wanted and like bonfires and stuff was, I think that is incredibly disingenuous to try to make that comparison. But yeah, this is our our post-ban list build, so different with Bonfire going from 3 to 2. Now, while I do think that Ash and Wanted were very impactful and much more than simply consistency hits, Bonfire is 100% just a consistency hit. Bonfire doesn't do anything for the deck besides just add to your plays, right? So, unlike Ash, which Ash being able to add more copies of Snake-Eye Ash was definitely, like, part of the deck's infinite recursion. And so was Wanted, actually, being able to just recycle your original sins, like, ad infinitum. Now, if you happen to draw your one of Wanted, you can recycle your original sin exactly once, right? But yeah, so as far as that, like I said, I've obviously taken out a Bonfire, but again, that's obviously not really impacted how the deck majorly plays, right? It's not been a major impact, I guess I should say. So, couple of changes I have made to the deck, very minor ones. Ulcanix. We are now playing 3 copies of Ulcanix. And it wasn't even just that I took out the 3rd Bonfire, put in the 3rd Ulcanix. For those who don't know, I actually, whenever a new season starts and a new ban list starts, I always go through and just delete all of my decks and then rebuild them all from scratch, because I think it keeps the decks much more cohesive. And I actually usually do that on stream, so if you're interested in checking out the VOD of us building this and like at least 10 other decks, definitely feel free to check out the links below. If the VOD is not still on Twitch, then it'll be on my second YouTube channel, but either way, those are both linked below. Anyway, but yeah, no, 3rd Ulcanix is something I've been wanting to put in for a little while, because you're never really sad to see Ulcanix in your opening hand. And actually, if you open both Ulcanix and Bonfire, that's like just about the best opening you could get in this deck, because you can obviously Bonfire for the Poplar and then special it, and then still have your Ulcanix available for the normal summon. So overall, I think a very, very good card. One card that is probably noticeably missing is Snake-Eye Oak. I have elected to take this card out of the deck, as have many people, actually. If you look at Snake-Eye Oak's play rate in Fire King Snake-Eye, it is like getting closer and closer to 50% every single day. I think it's like, at the time of recording last I looked, it was like 62% of builds play Oak, and 38% choose not to play it at all. Oak you don't need as part of literally any of your turn 1 combo lines. None of them require Oak. It's not like pure Snake-Eye in that regard. The way I tried to play Fire King Snake-Eye when it first came out was like, I had Temple, which Temple is still fine in the deck. It's not a bad card. But I tried to play it as like, oh, I'll either do Fire King plays or the regular pure Snake-Eye line. But even when doing Snake-Eye plays, you can pretty much always incorporate the Fire King stuff, and it's pretty much always better to do that. So for that reason, like I said, you don't actually end up needing Oak as part of like any of your turn 1 combo lines. And even as far as follow-up goes, yeah, normal summon Oak is pretty good for follow-up, but a lot of the time I usually just normal summon like a Garunix, right? Or maybe like a Ponix that was added back to my hand or something. Moral of the story is, it's very rare that like you have Oak for a follow-up play, and that's like the only normal summon you've got, and that's actually enough to get you there. So for that reason, I decided to drop Oak from the list entirely. And I have not really missed it that much, honestly. I think it's been fine without it. Of course, some other cards I've tried, and I actually talked about this in a recent, I think, Patreon video, actually, but those of you who might have joined me for deck building on stream might be wondering, wait, weren't you going to play Gamma and Driver? What happened to those? I did play Gamma and Driver in this deck for a little bit. I tested it for a handful of games, which is not a big sample size, but like, first 3 games I played with Gamma in this deck. First game, I went first and had a dead hand, including the Driver. Second game, I went first. I opened both Gamma with Ulcanix and like 2 other pieces of gas. Normal summon the Ulcanix, it got negated, and then I just lost. And then third game, I once again went first, but opened a dead hand, which included the Driver. Now, again, I know that a handful of games is not enough of a sample size to properly evaluate whether a card is good for a deck or not, but like, I already held a hatred for Gamma in my heart. And seeing those as my first 3 hands, I was like, yep, I'm done. I'm not playing Gamma in this deck. So, I even went up to 42 cards to draw Driver less often. And again, it's not even drawing Driver. It's also drawing Gamma going first. Is like, so bad. It's so bad in a deck like this where, like, you're expected to consistently have monsters on the board. Anyway, so if you're wondering, like, hey, I saw you put Gamma in this deck on stream, where is it? That's why it's not in here. I do still really like Subversion, though. Subversion is good just to give, honestly, Poplar something else to search, right? Like, Diablo can always set the Original Sin or the Wanted, but Poplar only having Original Sin to grab, sometimes you do notice that. Like, even if you don't have plans to use the Subversion, just having it for the advantage is really good. But also, being able to set Subversion off of Diabel is very good for turn 2, you know, because you can, like, special the Diabel, see if they negate it. If they don't, you can set the Subversion, deal with some of their board, and then, like, you know, normal summon Ulcanix and go into plays, or something like that, right? So, as far as Ulcanix goes, too, I do still think she is optional, but I do also think she is optimal. Like, if you don't have the URs or you just don't want to craft old Garunix, you definitely do not have to. Like, you can absolutely play Fire King Snake Eye without old Garunix and Ulcanix, but I do think that Ulcanix is definitely, you know, I do think it is optimal. I think it just adds more lines, not only in the form of opening Ulcanix, but just having the option to pop it from your deck to summon out another level 8 body is just overall, I think, pretty good, right? So, still on Triple Kieran. Card is very, very good for playing through Valor and Imperm. And for the extra deck, it's very stock standard. You don't have to play 2 Promethean Princess, but I am very, very glad I pulled a second one, because the second Promethean Princess comes up a fair bit, honestly. In terms of Kashtira Unicorn, it comes up. In terms of long games, it comes up quite a bit. You know, Princess is one of the most popular called by targets, you know, against this deck. So being able to have another one for follow-up plays has, again, come up quite often. You know, it is just a good card overall to have for long games. I feel like it is very valuable. The second copy, I mean, of course, it's good in general, but all right, that's about all I have to say about the list. Let's break it down card by card and then watch these replays. We're on 2 Effect Veiler, 1 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Legendary Fire King Ponix, 2 Snake Eyes Poplar, 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Fire King Avatar Arvata, 3 Fire King Courtier Ulcanix, 3 Diabell Star the Black Witch, 1 Fire King High Avatar Garunix, 1 Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, 1 Sacred Fire King Garunix, 3 Fire King High Avatar Kieran, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Sinful Spoils of Subversion, 2 Bonfire, 1 Original Sinful Spoils Snake Eye, 1 Fire King Island, 1 Fire King Sanctuary, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 1 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, 1 Fire King Skyburn, and then 3 Infinite Impermanents to round out our main deck. For the extra, we've got 1 Garunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings, 1 Linkribo, 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Salman Great Sunlight Wolf, 1 Hita, the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 SP Little Knight, 2 Promethean Princess, Bestower of Flames, 1 Amphibious Swarmship Ambloil, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 World Sea Dragon Zealantis, one Sound Migrate Raging Phoenix, and then finally one Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. There is our list. Let's see those games. Okay, we got our first game here against Sky Striker. Alright, I believe that we actually do win the coin flip here. No, they win the coin flip, never mind. Oh, I thought... Okay, I'm thinking of a complete other game. So yeah, they're actually going to elect to go first, which you see Sky Striker doing more and more of. Now that it engages at 3 and they have Camellia, I think the deck is much more suited to be going first. But unfortunately for my opponent here, it doesn't really seem like they opened like that great of a hand as far as like gas goes, because while they did have Rhoda and Upstart, they were not able to set up an engage. If they'd had like Cyanos or Rose, they could have potentially gone for Camellia to send that, and then Kagari to add it back to hand. And they actually looks like would have been able to set up 3 spells in graveyard potentially pretty easily, but I am definitely going to Valor the Shizuku so that way they don't add a card during the end phase before they pass over to me. So not the most involved turn from Sky Striker, but the 4 back row is still quite scary. I'm going to lead with Sanctuary for Island and then normal summon Ulcanix. I'm actually rather glad my opponent chained the Imperm here, because now I can use the Fire King Skyburn to target another one of their back rows. That turns out to be Call By, which I'm very, very glad that we forced here. So basically the idea is that by using Skyburn, we not only pop the Ulcanix to dodge the Imperm, but we also pop one of their cards, and now we'll also get Ulcanix's effect as well. We're gonna have to pop the Sacred Fire King Garunix, and we won't get the effect right away, because remember that it has to be in the graveyard when the monster was destroyed to get the graveyard summon. Because it's going from hand to graveyard here, we won't be able to get the effect. But again, we'll get it here very, very soon once we pop a monster for Fire King Island. So, also, like I said, I am so glad we forced out that Call By when we did. That had a huge amount of potential to mess us up. So, Ulcanix F is going to activate, as well as Ponix to summon from hand as well. Ponix doesn't have anything left to search, but it is still in their body. Ulcanix will pull out Old Garunix from deck. Going to use Fire King Island here, but the opponent's going to chain Cosmic Cyclone. I'm sure you're all bracing yourselves for the rant. I will say this much. In a meta with Fire King Island, it makes a little more sense for me why people would play Cosmic Cyclone. I still think this is incorrect. I still think this is a noob trap. I still think that there are much better spell and trap card disruption cards that you could be playing. Even if this one does circumvent the Fire King Sanctuary, which again makes it slightly more understandable because the Fire King Island is a good card to go after, I still don't think it's correct to play this card. As you can see, as you're about to see here rather, you know, even Cosmic Cyclone in the most optimal scenario of this meta, where you are popping an island and dodging the Sanctuary, you know, evade, or the Destruction Protection, it's still not going to be enough to win. So the Widow Anchor on the Sacred Fire King Garunix, actually much more brutal than that Cosmic Cyclone was, because here my plan was to pop Kieran, pop the face down, and then bring back a Fire King and then go into plays, but that's not going to happen anymore. I do, however, have that one Sanctuary left on field and the Diablo left in hand, so we can sack the onboard Sanctuary for Diablo, setting the Original Sin, send Diablo for Ash F, of course we're going to add a Poplar. Poplar F gets to add the Subversion. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but I'm just remembering how this combo line went. Subversion, I'm going to push back the Shizuku, that way they can't summon out the Ray. Link off Poplar for Link Kribo, put Poplar into the Spell Trap. We're going to be able to use Ash with the Poplar into the Spell Trap, or in the Spell Trap rather. Oh no, that's right, I'm putting Ulcanix there, just to make sure I have level 1 fires in the yard. But I mean, I guess I would either way, it wouldn't really matter. Flamberge can push back the Garunix into my Spell Trap, and now the opponent's field is clear. Link off Link Kribo and Flamberge for Dark. Dark is what is going to let me steal the Ray. And then Flamberge brings back Ash and a Poplar. Now from here I can go Dark plus Poplar into the Promethean Princess. Promethean Princess bring back Flamberge. I believe that is actually going to be exactly lethal once I do that. Well, they're at 7k, but this is actually exactly 8k. Because they paid 1k for Cosmic Cyclone. Of course, even if that hadn't been exact lethal, we definitely could have kept climbing up to, like, Raging Phoenix. Although we wouldn't have been able to Zealantis OTK because their opponent didn't have anything on the board. But either way, we found lethal. So, there you go. That's, I mean, it's not the most typical Fire King Snake Eye line, but I feel like most people who are watching this probably already know how Fire King Snake Eye plays. If you don't play the deck yourself, you probably played against it and seen the typical turn 1 combo line. So, yeah, we're just starting off here by showing how Fire King Snake Eye can use its resources to pivot through even as many as 4, relevant back row. And they were all relevant back row. Each one of those did end up coming up in some fashion or another. Again, I'm mostly just glad we popped the call by when we did, because that could have hugely messed us up, I think, more than a lot of that other stuff. But that's going to be it for our first duel, but of course we have a couple more to see here. Let's go into the next one. Alright, this next game is against Floowandereeze. But I'm trying to remember how much we actually see of Flu. There's one card in particular they're teching that I do remember we're going to see quite a bit of. Alright, this time we are going first. Opening hand is not bad. I'm actually going to lead with normal summon Poplar and not specialing Diabell. If I open Poplar plus Diabell, I tend to lead by normaling Poplar because I feel like some people are inclined to see, like, they'll see you normal summon Poplar and be like, oh, that's their normal summon, so I can just throw out Valor or Imperm now. I guess to be fair, you could special Diabell and it wouldn't really matter in that regard, but because if they Valor or Imperm Diabell, you could just normal Poplar, but I don't know, maybe this is just me assuming, but I feel like the normal summon Poplar will kind of lower your opponent's guard a little bit and make them more prone to throw out disruption like that. Unfortunately for us, they did have the Ash Blossom for the original Sin, which we were very much relying on using in order to go into plays. So I can still pitch Old Garunix and summon Diabell, and I'm going to activate Diabell to set the Wanted for follow-up plays. Now I can link off Link Kuriboh and Diabell. I'm just going to go for Little Knight though. I think I activate Little Knight to banish the Max C here. I definitely do not want to banish this Ash Blossom. Keep that in your opponent's graveyard, because that could very easily be a resource for you later. Here's the card, Summoning Curse. Oh, we do see Flu stuff, the Stree, but Summoning Curse. This was the card that I saw on their deck list. I was like, oh, I remember this game, because this card came up quite a bit. So Summoning Curse is a kind of floodgate. It's actually pretty interesting. If a monster is special summoned, the controller of that monster banishes 1 card from their hand. Then during your end phase, you gotta pay 500 life points or blow this up. So this card doesn't stop you from specialing, but it does eat your resources as you do, which is both good and bad. But this card's really not as bad as the floodgates because, one, you get to pick the card that is banished from your hand. I believe it is not random, so you do actually get to decide. And 2, once you're out of cards to banish in hand, it's not like you can't special summon. You can special summon, you just won't have to banish because you won't have cards in your hand. So, it's not that bad, like as bad as their floodgates, but it can still potentially mess you up. So, they're going to use Stree to banish my original Sin, but thankfully I can still recycle it with Wanted, which I want to use during the end phase. Also, if my opponent had actually normal summoned another Floowandereeze monster, like let's say it had been Eaglin, then I would have waited for the Eaglin summon and then used SP Little Knight to banish, right? Because that would have kept them off of 2 tributes and the ability to summon whatever they've got. But it looks like here they just bricked and only have Stree plus Summoning Curse. So, end phase, I'm going to Wanted, add the Diabell from deck to hand. They pay their 5, and then we're going to draw. They're going to Maxi during the draw phase. So, I guess Maxi plus Summoning Curse, maybe not that bad. But the other thing is too, like, or I say not that bad. I meant doubly as bad. Because, not that bad, Jesus. No, it's doubly as bad because now they're gaining hand advantage while I'm losing it. But I'm probably just not going to give them draws anyway because we know they're bricked. Like, we know all they had to do was Stree pass on their turn, right? And I thought this was going to go on for another turn. I thought I was going to pass over to them, and then during their draw phase is when they concede. But as soon as I normal Ash and add Ponix, I think my opponent figured out that I was just going to move to battle phase. Oh, I think that's actually why they conceded, is because I was going to, I was ending my main phase, moving to battle. So, I mean, it's pretty easy to battle SP over Stree or even Ashover's Tree, swing in and then pass, right? Because even in the world where they top deck Rabina, they normal Rabina, and then add Eaglin, normal Eaglin, and then when they activate Eaglin, I can activate SP, banish one of their 2 birds, and then they can add M-Pen or Mega Riser or whatever, but they're not going to be able to tribute summon it because they'd only have 1 bird. So, yeah. Yeah, even if they had top deck good stuff, it would have been my game anyway. Alright, got one more duel to show off. Let's finish off with that one. And it looks like our final opponent is going to be on Horus Tearlaments. Alright, this one I actually don't remember how it plays out, so let's see. It's like they're going to take the first turn, okay? We have Valor and Imperm. Actually, this hand's pretty good. Yeah, opening multiple hand traps is always good going second, and having any amount of gas beyond that. If I see 2 different hand traps and even 1 starter, I'm satisfied with that going second hand, so. Alright, opponent immediately setting up the zombie vampire here. As soon as that activates, I'm definitely going to throw out the effect Valor against it. Don't want them to mill into whatever plays they've got. I mean, at this point, it could be any number of Horus variants. It's most likely Tier, but a Churia Horus, it could still be that. It could still be, trying to think of another Horus variant that would play zombie vamp, actually. But, okay, they're going to summon Kibesnif. Use that to link with Zombie Vamp to go for SP, that makes sense. SP banishing the Valor out of my yard also makes sense in case I'm on Selene. And yeah, that's all they've got is SP pass into my turn. And thankfully we already opened the Imperm, so that's going to be pretty easy to handle the SP from there. Yeah, so I'll lead with normal summon Ponix. Opponent's got Maxi, but we have cross out for that. Yeah, I like normal summoning Ponix here, because it draws out that kind of disruption, potentially, and it also, it's not like I'm going to normal summon. I mean, yeah, I could normal summon Arvada, but that's not going to get my play started. So I don't really have any other normal summon I would realistically go for anyway. I get the Sanctuary for Island. Island actually popping the Arvada in hand to add New Garunix, proccing the New Garunix F to special it, and then I can use New Garunix to pop Kieran in deck. Kieran not only gets to pop their Kingstark, but also bring back Arvada for potential monster negates. Although, again, I think if we look at our opponent's graveyard too, they just are not going to have anything relevant. Nope, doesn't look like it. So from here, it's pretty much just finding a path to lethal. That's going to be pretty easy. Dark, going to bring back the Imseti. Then I can summon the Diabel, set Subversion. I don't even need a combo anymore after that, right? We set Subversion, we push back SP, and then, yeah, we just have lethal on board state, like with the current board state we have already in play. So, yeah, I mean, that one we did open a very, very good going second hand, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure most people probably would have veilored the zombie vamp. I was going to say maybe some people wouldn't do that, like they tried to save it for whatever the zombie vamp mills into, but like, the thing about Zombie Vamp's mills is it's not only good for milling your own deck to try to pull something out of it for your own plays, but also by milling your opponent, you get free information as to what they're on, and that can definitely hugely affect your decision making. So I just didn't want either of those things to happen. So, like, if my opponent leads with Kingstark and then summons 2 Horse Names and immediately goes into Zombie Vamp, even if I only was holding 1 negate, 1 Valor or Imperm, I would still just throw it out right away against that. Because on one hand, like, yeah, maybe they're baiting me and they'll just normal summon Rhino Heart, but on the other, I don't think it's worth the chance. Because, like, let's say they are baiting you and they have a normal summon Rhino Heart, but if they Zombie Vamp and then mill, like, a Shiren, then you're still, like, in a world of trouble anyway, right? So, also, they will get an extra body on the board. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching. Let us move now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.